So for the 12th class, we learned about England's wars and England's colonies. Now, if you are watching this because you were absent, not a terrible day to miss, because today was pretty traditional and out of the book, so pretty doable to catch up. And there were 4 conflicts we learned about: the English Civil War, the Pequot War, Metacom's War or King Philip's War, and Bacon's Rebellion in Virginia. Now, if you learned about these in 8th grade, I am impressed, but I am guessing all 4 of these topics are new to you. So we'll find out. I'm going to give you a real brief overview, explain what we did, and that's that. So anyway, the English Civil War took place for about 9 years. And what it was armies loyal to King Charles and Parliament faced off in 3 civil wars over long-standing disputes about religious freedom. So this topic of religious freedom keeps coming up again and again, and it's still coming up in modern times. So anyway, about religious freedom and how the 3 kingdoms of England, Scotland, and Ireland should be governed. Notable outcomes of the wars included the execution of King Charles I in 1649, 11 years of Republican rule in England, and the establishment of Britain's first standing national army. And I know this little blurb isn't going to give you the full thing. However, my students usually have a hard time envisioning. They say, what is it? Great Britain, United Kingdom? You know, I've heard these terms. Let me try to explain it in a way that is simple and to the point. Now, for those of you who really don't understand how the British Isles operate, so you can look at the British Isles, okay? So this is the United Kingdom. England is the biggest part of the island. Wales to the western part. Have you ever heard of somebody who's Welsh? That's where they come from, Wales. And then Scotland, the northern part of the island. Now, you can look at Ireland. Now, Ireland is a sovereign nation. It's been a sovereign nation for 100 years and some change. But this northern part, Northern Ireland, is part of the United Kingdom. Ireland is a separate country, okay? So, a little iconography for you. I'll teach you that word eventually. We have the English flag and the Scottish flag combining there. Then if you add the Irish flag, then you get the Union Jack. Okay, do you see how those flags blended together? So one more time, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland are part of the United Kingdom. Ireland is a sovereign nation. Okay, now, the Pequot Wars. Now, the Pequot War was a conflict that took place between 1636 and 1638 in New England. It was between the Pequot tribe and an alliance of colonists from the various colonies against an alliance of, and their allies from other tribes, okay? So the war concluded with the Pequots being defeated. 700 Pequots were killed or taken into captivity. Hundreds of prisoners were sold into slavery. It was a very, very bad outcome for the Pequot Indians, and the result was the elimination of the Pequot tribe as a viable polity in southern New England, and the colonial authorities classified them as extinct, which is pretty horrible. And it was a precursor of what was to transpire between Europeans and American Indians. And I'm guessing by the time we get to the end of this class, you are really going to be saying to yourselves, holy smokes, what happened to the American Indians in this country is wow. And this is just the beginning of this, and you're going to hear similar stories throughout this class. No surprise there. Okay, that was the second of the 3 conflicts. Now, the third conflict, Metacom's War, or King Philip's War, it's also known as the First Indian War, okay? So what happened was, it was the Native Americans' last-ditch effort to avoid recognizing English authority and stop English settlement on their native lands, okay? So the war is named after Chief Metacom, later known as Philip or King Philip, who led the rebellion. So what happened was that the Indians were really fighting tooth and nail to prevent what was starting to become an inevitability. More people showing up from Europe, more people spreading out and taking land. And that was the third of the 4 conflicts from today. And the last topic was Bacon's Rebellion. Now, Bacon's Rebellion was an armed rebellion held by Virginia settlers that took place from 1676 to 1677. It was led by Nathaniel Bacon against colonial governor William Berkeley. It was the first rebellion in the North American colonies in which discontented frontiersmen took part. So, you know, we see the seeds of rebellion obviously about 100 years from this point, we have the Revolutionary War that was obviously full of rebellion. Okay, so all 4 of these are precursors of what is to come, right? So anyway, that was just the basics. Okay, you're going to go a little bit deeper than this little brief video. So those are the basics, and here's what we did in class. So there's 2 items. One of the items we broke down in groups of 4, which was identify similarities and differences between the conflicts in New England and Virginia. How did the population and past events of each colony lead to the violence that occurred? And then we have a solo effort in breaking this down. Now, today's class is very AP. And what I mean by that is that this sort of vernacular and this sort of topics and this sort of reading, these are the things we're going to need to master to have some success come springtime. So now that I've shown you this PowerPoint, let me show you real briefly where these 2 assignments are located. Surprise, surprise, they are on Google Classroom. And how do you get to Google Classroom? You go to the waffle, you go to APUSH, you click on this, you go to classwork, and it is class 12, and you will see this class 12 assignment is the assignment that we worked on as teams. Obviously, if you're sick or you've missed class, you're going to have to fly solo on this. And then this assignment here is a breakdown of the solo assignment. 4 questions that show these AP skills: analyzing primary sources, developing arguments, and contextualization. So that is that. That would be class 12, and it corresponds with pages 77 through 82 in your book. All right, so that is it, and I appreciate you watching.